Welcome everyone who's joining us for the launch of the Poseidon Principles for Marine Insurance today. It is exciting to be launching this framework today that has been underway for some time. We'll get back to that in a moment. Of course, we wish that we could be coming together in person, but are nonetheless pleased that we could bring together such a distinguished group for the public launch of this new framework. It's especially exciting because it is the third framework in a family of transparency initiatives that have been developed over the past few years. As many of you know, the Poseidon Principles were launched in June of 2019. In October of last year, they were followed by the Sea Cargo Charter, and now we are pleased to be able to launch the third member of the Transparency Initiative families in the sort of Transparency Initiative family, the Poseidon Principles for Marine Insurance. We'll have members of the drafting committee speaking this session later today. I'll get back to that in a moment. But we also have a representative of the Poseidon Principles framework here today, the chairman, Michael Parker. More introductions to follow, but who can speak a little bit about the role of these transparency initiatives that in the maritime sector, in driving change, in helping the entire maritime ecosystem to work together on its decarbonization efforts and meeting the goals that have been set by society. But I think another aspect that I want to add in this introduction is the important role that these initiatives play in setting a precedent for other sectors to follow. We're seeing that most clearly in the case of the Poseidon Principles for financial institutions, because it's been the one that has been in the market for the longest. And it is now in the process of being adapted or a similar framework is in the process of being adapted for other sectors. So in the new year, we expect that other sector frameworks will emerge that mirror the work that has been done in the leadership of the banks that initially developed the Poseidon Principles. Similarly, we're seeing similar types of frameworks evolve around similar to the Sea Cargo Charter, where stakeholders in a value chain look at how they can help support the decarbonization of their business partners, and where it becomes a collective effort and a sort of a full value chain approach to decarbonization of a sector. And so I think that's so it's a really exciting development, both for the maritime sector, but also for other industries who can follow the example and can use the metrics and methodologies developed by this family of initiatives to look at how to decarbonize their own and have a better understanding and better tools for decision making around their own industries. Without further ado, I would, first of all, let me thank those who have been involved in developing this initiative. So first and foremost, I wish to thank the drafting group that has been working together over the past year to put in place this framework. This is first and foremost Swiss Re and Swiss Re Institute, who've been the ones who've sort of led the effort, who took the initiative, and who've been driving the process throughout this past year that we've been working together. It is Gard, Cefor, Willis Towers Watson, and IUMI, who have been supporting over the past year. Further, we have had participation from Maersk and Starbuck as industry advisors in setting up the framework, from Lloyd's Register, UMass, and ourselves in supporting in a sort of a technical capacity and as an advisory capacity in how to put together the framework and make sure that it aligns with other efforts across the sector. With this, let me introduce a short video that will, or rather, let me let me hand over to a short video that will introduce the Poseidon Principles for Marine Insurance. Following the video, Patrizia, Head of Marine at Swiss Re Corporate Solutions, will give a proper introduction of the Poseidon Principles for Marine Insurance. But first, a video.
Thank you, Joanna, for the introduction, and thank you to the Global Maritime Forum for supporting this process. When I sat next to Michael Parker, it was close to 2 years ago, shortly after the launch of the Poseidon Principle for banks, I said to him that we could have done the same for all insurance. I remember perfectly, he said, I'd better come up with my own name. Sorry, Michael, but you know we wouldn't be here without you and the signatory leading the way. The Poseidon Principle for Marine Insurance, like the banks, are founded in transparency and in supporting the shipping industry in its decarbonization journey. The 4 guiding principles, assessment, accountability, enforcement, and transparency, will enable signatories and affiliate members to be the future of responsible insurance. We are using the same global baseline as the banks to request emission data from ship owners, to assess and disclose our portfolio alignment and increase awareness of the impact that we, as the insurance sector, can have across shipping. As it said, the video that we have just watched, shipping accounts for 3% of global emissions. And we, as the insurers, have a role to play in supporting this transition. I was so happy to have the support from the drafting group this past year, and the support of Swiss Re Institute and UMAS to make sure that we used real data and metrics that make a difference for us as an insurer. With a lot of hard work and their support, we have adapted the well-known Poseidon Principle methodology to fit for Hull and Machinery portfolio. And we have expanded our membership to beyond those who can report this data. And we are so very proud to be here at launch today, and use this as an opportunity to invite more insurers, underwriters, clubs, brokers, and more to join us and support this initiative. A special thank goes to our partner, IUMI. I look forward to the rest of the discussion today with my fellow members, and I look forward to the further discussion with the new members throughout the spring. I would now like to hand over to Alice, project manager at the Global Maritime Forum, who will moderate the panel. Thank you, Alice.
Thank you, Patrizia. As Patrizia said, my name is Ilias, and I have the pleasure of guiding us through the discussions today as the moderator. And so I already see that the film crew has invited everyone up onto the virtual stage with me, so I'll go ahead and announce and introduce everyone. So we already know Patrizia, who has been the chair of the Poseidon Principles for Marine Insurance Drafting Committee. We are also joined by Rolf Thore Roppestad, CEO of Gard and vice chair of the PPMI Drafting Committee. Hello, Rolf. We have Ilias Tsakiris, CEO of Hellenic Hull Management, Helle, managing director of Cefor, Hendrike Kühl, the policy director for IUMI, the International Union of Marine Insurers. And we also have Michael Parker, chairman of Global Shipping, Logistics and Offshore at Citigroup, and also the chair of the Poseidon Principles Association for Banks. Since we have just heard from Patrizia on the drafting group process and all of that, I'd like to hand it over to Rolf Thore first. Would you like to give a few thoughts on the drafting group process, but also offer a bit of reflection on what the PPMI means to support ship owners and decarbonization?
Thank you. Gard is a mutual insurance company. We are owned by ship owners, and we all know that ship owners have started the transition towards a decarbonized future. And as their supporters on that journey, this is basically the right thing to do for us as their service provider and supporter in the process. I think the dialogue with our members and the ship owners is very important. There has been a very good work in the drafting committee. At the same time, we have had a close dialogue with our members through our boards, the executive committee and the board of directors of Gard. All the way, we have had the dialogues with some members also on a direct basis. And I think it's important to take their input into the process as well. And it has been important for us to have a straightforward and quite simple structure. We base these principles on the data our members, the ship owners, have to report to their flag state and IMO anyway. So it has been focused on minimizing the additional burden of reporting for ship owners, because we know that the ship owners have a lot of other things to focus on as well on the technology side. And this is a complement to the direct work being done by the shipping industry on the decarbonization in that respect. We are reporting on an aggregate portfolio level, not on an individual member basis. I think that is important. This is a practical tool for us as a marine health insurance company to follow the progress of our portfolio over time. And I think change is coming, and we can decide whether we would like to take part of it or not. And by joining this Poseidon Principles, we are very clear that we would like to be a part of the solution going forward, for the best for our members and ship owners and for the society at large.
Great, thank you, Rolf. I think then I'll go to Ilias, who was not part of the drafting group, but American Hellenic Hull and Hellenic Hull Management was one of our first signatories to sign up almost without blinking. So Ilias, why is this important to Hellenic Hull Management, and where do you see the broader alignment with the initiative across what you're already doing?
First of all, I would like to thank you for allowing me to participate in this special day. It is a privilege for us to be among the founding members. And I would like also to congratulate the Global Maritime Forum and Swiss Re for drafting and the initiative's technical guidance papers and principles. Sustainability is a matter of ethos as underwriters and key stakeholders of the international shipping value chain. and we consider that we needed to act now. So whatever initiative takes forward and addresses the sustainability and the future of our industry and the future of our own planet, it's we need to be part. Insurers used to be reactive to change. I think with the PPMI now, we are proactive to change, and we can assist our clients in adapting to the new realities because we cannot avoid it. The world is changing, and this is the direction it's heading. So we are very happy, and despite the fact that we have not been in the drafting, we are so glad that the draft is far better, and we don't think we could add anything more. As our company, we are supporting, let's say, we are part of the ESG issues are part of our reality and in all our policies. And we have been the first, let's say, marine underwriters that adopted the UNEP Finance Initiative, Principles for Sustainable Insurance, in 2019. And we have been also part of the Sustainable Blue Economy Finance Initiative for 2020. In addition to that, proud members of the SIP Recycling Transparency Initiative, and we are one of the newest members of the Net Zero Insurance Alliance. So our membership to the PPMI was part of our innovative sustainability strategy in any case. And we aspire that this ambitious initiative will act as a global benchmark to be able to disclose the carbon and the GHG intense activities. So we also add our voice and call all marine hull machinery underwriters to join the principles, assisting in the Net Zero Alliance.
Perfect, great. We'll definitely get back to the Net Zero Insurance Alliance later in our discussions. I think that's a big part of a lot of the discussions this group has had in the past couple of weeks. So we'll return to that in a bit. I'll pass the word to Helle as our founding affiliate member. Why do you think that it's important for Cefor to support initiatives like this, and why the affiliate member role is an important part of this piece?
Thank you, Elise, and good morning all. I think from our side, climate change obviously concerns us all. Cefor and the members we have in the Nordic marine insurance market, we are committed to contributing to a sustainable ocean industry. And as we progress, transparency will become increasingly important as a growing number of the marine insurance will be looking at their own portfolios. And that's also from a sustainability perspective, and we have demands and expectations on the reporting part as well. So for that reason, we have been very supportive of the transparency that's offered by the Poseidon Principles for marine insurance. That will also foster a dialogue in the industry and on the climate footprint of shipping. And I think that transparency part is really crucial to us. Now, obviously, being a trade association, that doesn't mean that we make any commitments on behalf of all our members. That's up to them whether they want to sign up as signatories or not. But our role is to be a facilitator, and also to some degree to influence decisions and discussions between the different parties and to share the knowledge. And in joining the PPMI as an affiliate member, we can ensure that there is a common framework in place, that we have sort of a hand on the steering wheel, if you like, and that's been part of the drafting process for us to make it practical, simple. It's not coincidental that the Poseidon Principle is used again, Michael, but I think that that's only a rather obvious solution for us, because we don't want to invent the wheel again. We want to use what's there to make it simple and avoid a lot of double reporting, as Rolf Thore was mentioning as well, that we need to find the practical solutions. Do we have the perfect solution in place? Maybe not. It will evolve over time, but being a part of it, we can then make sure that it is made in a way that's good for the owners and good for the insurers. And that's what we think will be our role going forward as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Helle. I think that's a good connection to bring us to Hendrike, actually, who is our representative from IUMI, the supporting partner of the PPMI. Hendrike, can you talk a bit, still on this supporting and engagement piece, since I think that's a very similar theme across the supporting members and also IUMI here.
Of course, more than happy to. And thank you very much for having us, and good morning, everyone. So I think that the most important point is that marine insurers cannot afford to be spectators in light of the realities that climate change is already putting before property insurers at this point in time. And a case in point are the growing number of severe weather events, not only in number, but also in intensity. And very clearly, as Helle, Cefor, one of our member associations, has just pointed out, the relevance of ESG and sustainability issues on the agendas of our member associations has been growing, and that's reflected in IUMI's work. And very clearly in that space of the ESG work that we are doing at IUMI, climate change is one of the core priorities because it's having this impact on property insurers, including hull and cargo underwriters at this point already. And I think one of the guiding principles for IUMI's work in the ESG space has been to make it as tangible as possible and to really make it concrete rather than just making aspirational statements. And that's where I think the Poseidon Principles for Marine Insurers are a fantastic initiative, because it's actually walking the talk by this approach of first starting to assess a hull insurer's portfolio in terms of its carbon footprint, because that's where the work actually starts. If you don't know what your carbon emissions are, how are you supposed to improve it? So I think that tangible approach is very, very important from IUMI's perspective. And this first step of making that assessment is this initial concrete step on that path to reduce and eventually eliminate carbon emissions. And I think that's why IUMI is delighted to be a supporting partner and to spread the word among our members. And I mean, we do have some on board already here, but yeah, we will certainly help to spread the word among our global membership.
Fantastic. Thank you, Hendrike. And of course, we're very thankful to have you here today, but also thankful to have IUMI support through this process as well. It's been fantastic. So last but not least, of course, we have Michael Parker, chair of the Poseidon Principles for Banks. It's been, I guess, 2.5 years now since we were in a similar seat launching the Poseidon Principles in New York. Of course, a virtual launch is a little different than a in-person one. And now it's the third time we've done this and the second Poseidon. So Michael, do you have any reflections of these last 2.5 years? And maybe if you imagine back 2 years ago, if there's any advice that you want to give this group as well of the learnings of the last 2 years.
Thank you, Elise. But let me first congratulate Patrizia and Rolf and the rest of the drafting committee today on the launch of Poseidon Principles for Insurance. I saw Patrizia wearing the badge. I quickly rushed to get my badge, and I think Rolf is wearing one. And I think 2 years ago I was being too possessive because we'd only just started, and I was concerned that the insurance sector might overtake us. But I have to tell you that those of us in the Poseidon Principles Steering Committee are very, very pleased to share the brand of the Poseidon Principles with you, and hopefully we will together agree to share it with other people who are as enlightened as we are. But I want to go back 16 years because when I spoke at a IUMI annual meeting back in 2005, it was the day after Angela Merkel had just been elected Chancellor of Germany. So the bookends to ships passing in the night, because that's what banking and insurance for shipping actually was. We have the same customers, but actually our cooperation really was quite limited. For banks, ships need to be insured before we will finance them. Here we are 16 years later, and this is fantastic. Together with the initiatives like the Sea Cargo Charter, again, the GMF, under the auspices of the GMF, and others outside of the GMF, like the COSEP Alliance, what we have here is the key participants in enabling the shipping industry to function in terms of insurance, finance, and cargo. Clearly, there are others that are also important parts of the maritime value chain. But what I think is very important is that what we are doing in this industry is collaborative with our clients. We're taking data We're here to motivate our clients, our mutual clients, to do the right thing. And I think we are bringing them along with us. And I think, as we found in the Poseidon Principles for Banks, we started with 11 signatories when we launched. We're up to 29 now. And I have every confidence that the signatories and affiliates to the Poseidon Principles Insurance will only grow exponentially over the next 12 to 24 months, particularly as all these efforts pre and post COP26 really do highlight the importance of what the private sector is doing. We said we couldn't wait for the IMO. We will move in the Poseidon Principles for Banks to to the zero ambition that you are leading the way with, and we won't wait for the IMO. But we know the IMO will join us in that. But it's the private sector that has to lead here. We're all part of the GFANS, the $130 trillion, this big number. But we know that finance through insurance, through banking, through the capital markets will be deployed to make this happen. The one thing I always say, or two things I always say, I'm accused of saying every other sentence by Tristan Smith of UMass, is the data is important. And as has been said here, we're using data that is actually provided by ship owners to the IMO. That data will end up in the public domain very soon, I suspect. But that is the data that is helping us do this. The second thing is shipping is the most important industry in the world because it delivers prosperity to developing nations. It's trade that makes the global economy function. And as we've seen with COVID, as we saw with the blockage of the Suez Canal, if supply chains come under stress, the world economy suffers, and it's shipping that delivers that. And I think that is one of the things that the greater society has actually worked out. We also know that if we can decarbonize shipping quickly, we help every other industry whose cargoes we carry, whose ships you insure, whose ships we finance. That is why the leadership we are collectively showing, and today you are showing, is fantastic, and you are to be congratulated. I told Patrizia 2 years ago it wasn't easy and it wouldn't be quick. And it's about the same time it took us as banks, about 2 years from start to finish. But now you're launching today. Many, many congratulations. And we look forward in the Poseidon Principles for financial institutions to working closely with you, making sure that there is no anti-competitive behavior, of course, but working closely with you and the Sea Cargo Charter to really see how we can work together to accelerate, help the decarbonisation of the shipping industry. Thank you, Ilias.
Another classic part of having virtual launches is that you're always on mute, right? Well, anyway, thank you, Michael. I think one key point that we've heard through all of these opening statements is the importance of alignment and engaging clients. So I'd like to bring our discussion back through that, and I'd like to bring Patrizia back for us so that we can walk through some of the discussions that the drafting group has had and some of the founding members have had with alignment across the Poseidon Principles for Banks, but also with other initiatives like the Net Zero Insurance Alliance. Patrizia, would you like to talk about the Net Zero group since Swiss Re is a member over there, and also the discussions that this group has had, making sure that everything's aligned?
I would like to start by going back to one of the comments that is recurring, and it's about our industry. Those that know me know that I am a very proud marine underwriter. I have been in this industry 25 years, and I feel extremely important that I contribute to do the right thing. And the Poseidon Principle for banks, like the Poseidon Principle for insurance, are the right thing to do. That we, as financial institutions, take very seriously the role that we play in helping this transition and also then de-risking this transition. For marine insurance, for those that are not a marine underwriter here, is the oldest line of business. And I think that today we have done a great achievement by positioning our industry in the forefront of the decarbonization discussion. As Elise mentioned, we had a lot of discussion with the NCA group, of which Swiss Re is one of the founding members. And I would like really to express my huge thanks to Butch Bacani, who is leading the UNP PSI initiative. He has been a great supporter. He has really helped us to find the right way, and also together with our NCA members. We will allow, under the Poseidon Principle, as we have seen in our video, for two trajectories. Swiss Re, for example, as a member of NCA, will of course report against the net zero trajectory, because this is what we have committed to our investor and to our client. But this is, and we acknowledge that there are others that can decide to do it differently. But it's really important here to show how marine insurance is really in the forefront of this development. And again, huge thanks to everybody that has been involved in this, and especially my thanks go to not only Butch, UMAS, and our Swiss Re Institute that have been instrumental in driving us through all the discussion on the methodology. We wouldn't be here today without them. Any comment in this respect from the panel?
I'm happy to make some comments from the mutual insurance industry, and certainly we are coming from a slightly different place than you as a large commercial company, Patrizia. And the marine mutual insurance industry has always been very close to the IMO and followed the IMO regulations in every respect, and that is also why it's very important for us to report versus the IMO trajectory. That might change over time, and then we'll certainly follow that. But as a principle for the mutual insurance industry, I think being close to IMO is something we will continue to be. And then I think the most important thing is not really which line you put in the graph. The most important is that transparency in itself will drive change. And to monitor the development of our portfolios over time, we will, independent of trajectory, get an exact figure for the carbon footprint of the portfolio of each individual company. And over time, that will be powerful, I think. Transparency is a part of driving change and contribute to drive change.
I think that you, Rolf, touch here on...
Great, thank you, Rolf, Thore. I wonder also if Ilias would like to comment as well. Oh, and then Michael can comment next.
Apart from the conversation which we're having, which is the wishful, let's say, thinking that what we're trying to achieve, this particular goal we are setting, and this particular initiative is helping to assist the goals that is required for the environment and for us as to survive in this particular planet. Therefore, this particular initiative provides, let's say, is not an actual rule, is not anything else. It provides between marine insurers, which we are one of the two pillars, let's say, that support shipping. One is banking and the other one is insurance, to help owners understand where the world is heading, how they can contribute, and we can actually provide them the framework. We are not, this is not an initiative, let's say, that it's another regulation as such. This is an initiative to help us achieve the goal of zero carbon emissions, basically. And in order, let's say, to be able to live in this planet, and at least to our legacy as underwriters, to this particular planet and to this industry, is to live a better environment as such.
Thank you. All right, so Michael had his hand up first, and then we'll go to Hendrike.
I just wanted to comment quickly on sort of what's happened for us in the last 2 years. The first thing I think is the reporting by our clients giving us the data has been, for most of us, well over 90%. The cases where we haven't had data, there have been extenuating circumstances. So whilst I can't rule out that some of our mutual clients may not say, oh no, not you as well, I think the data you will get when you start very easily. We've helped get our clients used to it. The second thing I would say, and there's a lot of support out there which takes time sometimes to turn into actual signatories. I hope it's a bit faster for you than it was for us. I spoke to last week in London, I spoke to one of the leading P&I clubs and an underwriter, both of whom are very supportive in principle. One I think will hopefully sign very soon. But the P&I clubs have the same members that you're also underwriting, that we are lending to. And I think there is a groundswell of support from within the ship owning industry that this is essential and actually to their benefit. And so I hope that you mustn't be afraid to push, because there's an open door there. We know this is a very conservative industry, but I think it is also now understanding that they have no choice, and actually to work with us in partnership is the best way for them and the best opportunity for them as an industry. So don't be afraid to push, because I think you'll bring people along with you.
Yeah, that's a great point, Michael, especially the conversations from when the banks launched of the 50% trajectory. Are you crazy? That's so ambitious. And having now these discussions with only 50%, that's not ambitious enough. I think if you're pulling in between those two groups of people, and you've done an excellent balancing act, as I think this group has done. So I'll go ahead and continue with Hendrike.
Thank you. And just one point that I think is important to highlight is that this really is a journey, and I think that's the word that many of you have used already. And it's been one of the issues that we had discussed with our members in that process to becoming a supporting partner, that obviously for the first round of publications, and I think this was true for the Poseidon Principles for banks as well, not all signatories actually managed to kind of stick with the trajectory and were, above it. But I think that's the first step, and that's something that's so important to bear in mind, that this is not about kind of pointing fingers. It's about first assessing and finding out for each insurers themselves, where do I stand, and then starting from there. And it's really, I think that's what we discussed in our several preparatory discussions with members and with the drafting group and GMF. It's a journey, and it's going to take time, and I think that is what is important. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon, and that is, I think, important to bear in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Hendrike. That's a great point. I think we have about 6 minutes left, which luckily we have 6 panelists, so I'll give you all 1 minute of closing thoughts with that journey in mind. I think that's a great way of capping on the theme, as you've pointed out already, of forward looking and what's next and where are we going from here, what's next on that journey. So I think I'll go maybe in reverse order and end with Patrizia this time. So I'll start with Helle first, of okay, we're on this journey, what's next? Where's Cefor looking forward to?
Right now, I think we will, and obviously we'll engage with Gard and the first movers here to see how can we help on the practical side. There are a lot of issues, and ideally, I think Michael was the one that said. So let me repeat that. IMO, if you had opened that database, it would have made life easier. All the information is there, because that's one of the hurdles that we need to go through. And we're just asking for what's already reported there, and it will be easier in about a year's time anyway. But we'll help and see whatever we can do on that practical side to really comply with what's there now. We got Helle machinery in there at the moment, and I think that's fine to take that step and make that work and see what we can do, whether we can do something on the clauses side. And then we'll engage in discussions based on the feedback we get from owners, based on the feedback we get from the first signatories. What is needed? Where do we want to move next? Is there a need for that? And we do know that there will be changes at the IMO, or hopefully they will manage to review their strategy by 2023. So we might be looking at changes there. And just to be a part of that discussion and involved with it is going to be very interesting, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. So first step today, and it's going to be a great journey.
Great, thank you, Helle. We'll go to Hendrike next, so since we'll work our way back up. So what's next?
Sure. So for IUMI, very clearly, it's as a supporting partner, it's our role to spread the word among our members, to make this initiative more known across our membership. And I think the word that Helle just used is first movers. And obviously, this group is a group of first movers, but IUMI's membership is much broader than that. We do represent 45 member associations from around the world, and obviously there is a wide spectrum in terms of evolution with regard to ESG and sustainability considerations. So that will be our role, to spread the word and make this initiative known. Thank you.
Thank you. Ilias, what's next?
What's next is to enhance exactly what the previous speakers have said, is that to increase awareness. To increase awareness in every level, from not only insurance companies, brokers needs to be involved, ship owners, of course, they have to be involved, but the whole marine family, marine insurance family needs to get together and increase the awareness, understand why these things are taking place, and make everybody and all the stakeholders part of the solution by bringing them all to this particular table. And by widening the dialogue, we can be wiser, and we can also have a more serious solution to the actual problem.
Thank you. Yes, Rolf, you are next. So what's next?
Thank you. I think, first of all, I think all of us agree that this is the right thing to do now, and that is important. And I think there are two main challenges next. First of all, as several of us have said, it's not a perfect system today. We have to work on making it even better and more practical. And then secondly, we have to engage the industry to get more signatories on board. And as Michael says, it was a very good development on the banking side, and let's aim for a similar development on the insurance side. I think we really have the potential to do so. And then let's focus on that. Doing this together, we are all making a difference. We can impact the system, and we can drive the system in a better way going forward, for the better for our industry and for the better for the ship owners.
Thank you. And Patrizia, I will come back to you, Michael, don't worry. But Patrizia, what's next for insurance?
Next for Insurer is to get more participants on board of this initiative. The decarbonization journey ahead requires that all actors across the value chain get involved and take a part in this transition. And it is important to include insurers and find ways in which they can support and help this transition, and this is why we are here today. And thank you everybody for the great collaboration. It has been a long journey, but to me personally, an amazing professional and personal experience as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrizia. I think for the PPMI side, I think that's a clear call for anyone that we've already discussed the principles with, or anyone who's interested. There's a whole group here ready at the table, ready to answer those questions, get you on board, and it's an open invitation to be part of our journey. So I'll also then end with final comments from Michael Parker. Since we've had, as we've already said, 2 years of Poseidon, what's next? What are the banks looking forward to?
Thank you, Elise. Well, again, congratulations to all of you. The one thing that I think we together should reflect on is we are leading the way. So thank you for asking for this, to use the same name. I'm very grateful you have. We are leading the way because we have, and to some extent having the IMO there helps to do that. We have a global regulator we've been able to feed off in terms of what we're doing. But we are leading the way for other industries, and I think that is crucial. Other industries through the Centre for Climate Aligned Finance, like the steel industry, the aviation industry, are starting the same process we went through and are learning from us. So we, unlike many of the people in the shipping industry who like to hide away and not talk about things, we really are setting an example, not just for the industry that we both serve, but also for every other industry. And when we look within Citi at how we are looking at the emissions from other sectors and how we are going to meet our commitment to net zero by 2050 as a financial institution, what we've done in the Poseidon Principles is used as the example of what all the other sectors have to do, which is to get to grips with the emissions of our clients and help them. And that's the key thing, help them transition and adapt to the zero emission world. So welcome to the brand of the Poseidon Principles, and we look forward to working with you. But we are together with our cousins in the Sea Cargo Charter. We are leading the way, and let's continue to lead.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you for spending your, for some people, very early morning to be on yet another call. Hopefully soon we'll all be able to meet in person and have these discussions and continue the invitation and the welcome to new members and continue leading the way and being the first movers with this initiative. So with that, thank you all for being here. We have closing remarks from Christian Mumenthaler, Group CEO at Swiss Re. So I believe he's in the Swiss Re TV studio at the moment. So I will go ahead and hand it back over to that team and to take us to the closing remarks of today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for this invitation. As you know, it was originally meant to be a physical invitation here in Zurich, and I was very much looking forward to talking to you personally. Now, obviously, reality has taken over, and same exercise as last year, so I hope you're all healthy and safe wherever you are. This is a cause I'm quite passionate about, and I want to thank you for your leadership in this. This is very important. Swiss Re, obviously, being also on the field of natural catastrophes, we have seen this coming for a very long time. We have talked about it since the 90s. And I'm encouraged about the last 2 or 3 years, because there was much more movement in the last 2 or 3 years than all the time before. Before, it was a bit of fringe topic. Not many CEOs were talking about it. And now the interest has basically exploded. This is now front and center of everything and actually will influence the world. Like many of you, we have made a pledge to be net zero 2050, which is really the big rallying cry of what we need to do to fulfill the Paris Accord. And obviously, as you all know, this means not only on our own operations, which is the easy part, but on the asset side and on the underwriting side, we need to get down to net zero. And what you're doing here obviously fits into that narrative. But more importantly, I'm also part of this WEF Alliance of CEO climate leaders. That's 113 CEOs who have all committed to net zero from all industries. And I find this nearly more interesting because, of course, you know, representatives of the marine, the transportation, logistics industry are in there, and also their clients. So big companies like IKEA, Amazon, etc., are Nestle, Siemens, you know, they're all part of this alliance. And so the perspective I wanted to bring is, and I think it was just mentioned before, this is all, with all these huge companies aligned, they will have to get down to zero in all their scopes, 1, 2, and 3, which means that everything along the value chain, upstream and downstream, will have to be net zero. And they all have the same goal at the same time. And they all start moving now. So they, of course, go through analysis of what they can do on their own operation, but they also analyzed the value chain. And so sooner or later, there's going to be huge pressure on the whole value chain to be net zero. Otherwise, they can't fulfill the target which they have set to themselves and to their shareholders. And that's what makes me most optimistic, I have to say, because these 100 companies probably have 100,000 companies delivering to them. So everybody has thousands of medium, small-sized companies delivering to them. And they will have to force these, and these companies will again have to force their supply chain to be net zero. So this is basically a movement, a snowballing movement across the whole value chain. Now, marine is a hard-to-abate sector, as you know, and not with high margins, and so people there are quite scarce, as are people in the aluminum industry and steel industry, etc. But what we found out with these CEOs is the cost for the end product, if everything was green, is actually much smaller than what you think. So green steel or whatever, transportation gets much more expensive, but once you put it to the end product, with companies who have much higher margin, it's usually 1 to 4% higher cost for the end product. So it is financeable if you take a value chain view. But it seems impossible or a huge challenge for the individual companies. And so in one of our calls, it was interesting that one CEO involved in marine said he had just ordered 2 ships who would run on biofuel, but he was not sure whether there will be enough demand. It's going to be more expensive in 2 years' time when they're online. And the reaction was very telling. That all the CEOs immediately texted and said, "You must be kidding. Of course, we're going to use it, etc." And to me, that made it very transparent that while it's daring at this stage for this whole industry to take the first steps to move in that direction, and they might think it's so competitive, I'll never be competitive if I do that. I think the situation will reverse within 2 or 3 years. And those who have the means to transport in a more eco-friendly way will have a massive competitive advantage, because even if it is more expensive, everybody will want to use them. So we're just part of that. We're a piece of the puzzle. I think this is really something where we all have to go in common. Every industry, we need to work across industries, also with governments, get to this gigantic decarbonization, which will take 20, 30 years, to be honest. It's going to be a massive, massive effort. And our contribution as insurers, I think, will be through that valve, to that pressure. But it shouldn't be seen as a negative. I think we're accompanying them on a path which will ultimately benefit them, I'm very sure. Because it's going to come. There's no question. I was at Glasgow, everywhere. This is going to come, and that's what's in the belief of CEOs. And once it's in the belief of CEOs, it will happen. And so, if it's going to come, I would suggest for every participant in the value chain that it's much better to run ahead of the wave than to be caught in the wave and have no room for maneuver. And that's really a picture I use a lot, because I think it's exactly reflecting the reality. And I think what the Poseidon Principle here for marine insurers do is help people to be ahead of the curve and help them a little bit on that path. And so, again, thank you very much for your engagement. I'm extremely supportive. This is a journey. We know it's not easy. It's going to take iterations. So we're not at the final stage yet, but this is an important big step. And so, again, thank you all, and hopefully next time physically here in Zurich.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you very much.